For years, people have been saying, there's something beneath regarding the ongoing exploration on Oak Island. But what has been revealed this time has piqued the curiosity of the entire world. Rick Lagina himself has confirmed that a vault has been discovered underground that looks nothing like a normal structure. The shapes are perfect, the walls are metallic, and AI mapping revealed the same patterns found in medieval Templar vaults. Fans have only one question: is the 228-year-old mystery of Oak Island finally about to end? The biggest shock came when the crew discovered an unnatural cold zone behind the sealed metallic door, a temperature 11 degrees lower than the rest of the world. Experts say such a difference occurs when ancient air or a sealed chamber is present inside. Rick's voice even shook slightly when he said, "We finally touched something that was never meant to be found." If you look at the crew's reaction, you will understand that hidden beneath is not just gold, but the biggest twist in history. And the interesting thing is that the government has suddenly started showing interest in this site. Unmarked trucks, restricted perimeter, and 2 officers whom the show's cameras were not allowing to come near at all. All these things themselves increase the excitement of the viewers, because when the government starts secretly visiting a place, understand that the matter is big. If you do not subscribe, then you will miss the real twist, because Rick has openly said that this is just the beginning. Deeper readings are indicating that there may be a second chamber below the main vault. Imagine if the first discovery turns out to be 1,000-year-old Templar engineering, then what will be hidden below? Rick Lagina's moment, when his voice cracked slightly in front of the camera, will forever be etched in Oak Island history. Rick is never easily excited. He's always calm and grounded. But the fear and excitement that flashed in his eyes that day clearly indicated they'd found something they couldn't have imagined. The crew understood. This wasn't a normal discovery. It was something bigger than treasure. Rick remained silent for a few seconds, as if searching for words. The sound of drilling in the background slowly faded, and the entire crew looked at them attentively. Then Rick said softly, "We found something that was never meant to be opened." The air in the room seemed to freeze. Emma looked at Rick without speaking, and Spooner simply took a deep breath. No one could understand what Rick was hiding in that line: fear, excitement, or warning. But the tone was clear. Something had been found below, something that humans had deliberately sealed. Rick explained that when he first touched the metallic wall, the temperature was completely different from the rest of the ground. The surface was unnaturally smooth, as if someone had given it a perfect finish centuries ago. Sensors consistently gave high readings, and AI mapping detected hollow patterns inside the vault. Rick explained that this structure wasn't like normal medieval storage. It had a purpose, and that purpose was probably to ensure it was never opened. This thought was constantly running through every crew member's mind. What could be inside? The intensity of that moment was so high that the production team paused camera movement for a moment, focusing on Rick's face. Rick continued, "Whatever is behind it, it's bigger than we thought." His voice was steady, but his eyes clearly betrayed his own shock. This was the first time Rick openly admitted that beneath Oak Island lay not just gold or artifacts, but a vault protected by an ancient order, perhaps the Templar Order. And now, centuries later, it's finally on the verge of opening. The AI scan findings blew the minds of the entire Oak Island crew. Typically, natural formations found underground have curves, rough edges, and random shapes. But when the subsurface drawing appeared, the entire team fell silent for a few seconds. The screen displayed 90-degree angles, perfect, sharp, and absolutely straight. Nature never creates such geometry on its own. Staring at the screen, Rick simply said, "This is engineered, not accidental." Hearing this line, the rest of the crew understood that the matter had gone beyond ordinary treasure. The AI also detected a rare symmetry in the vault's outer walls, almost equal thickness all around, a perfect rectangular layout, and every corner in mirror copy precision. Dr. Spooner himself said that if this was medieval work, the engineering was impossible for that time. Achieving such precise measurements with normal tools was extremely difficult. This further fueled suspicions that this vault was built by a highly skilled, secretive group. And the most logical name emerged: the Templar Order. More mysterious was that the scan revealed two separate compartments within the vault. Both compartments were designed similarly, with a narrow corridor between them, aligning in a perfect cross shape. This is the same classic Templar vault pattern found in some hidden sites in Europe. The crew's body language clearly indicated that their confidence was turning to fear. Because if this was indeed a Templar-style vault, then there might be more than just treasure inside. Something history has never mentioned. The AI mapping also detected symbols such as markings, straight line patterns, looped shapes, and some cross-like signals. These patterns were coming from behind the metallic walls, meaning the vault wasn't just a hollow structure. Something substantial existed inside. When the scan detected another faint outline in the deeper layer, Emma immediately said, "Guys, this is not one vault. There might be another chamber under it." At that moment, the crew understood that Oak Island's biggest twist was just beginning. When the crew finally found the sealed metallic door, no one imagined the environment behind it would be so strange. The door didn't look like an ancient vault at first glance. The surface was unusually smooth, as if it had been shaped not by hand but by a precise machine. The biggest shock came when thermal readings were run. The temperature behind the door was nearly 11 degrees lower than the surrounding soil. This difference wouldn't have been possible in normal geology. Dr. Spooner immediately said, "This is sealed air, untouched for centuries." Hearing this, a strange chill ran down the crew's spine. Moisture scanners also posed another mystery. High moisture spikes were visible near the door's edges, while the rest of the soil layers were completely dry. This contrast didn't resemble a natural water pocket. Emma, after looking at the data, said, "This is controlled humidity. Someone sealed this intentionally." Sensors were constantly raising red alerts. Vibration, metal density, and temperature anomalies were all at unnatural levels. It seemed as if there was a large hollow chamber behind the door, still trapped in ancient air. This is the environment where history lurks, and perhaps something more. When Rick first touched the door, a metallic thump was heard in the soil, deep, clear, and unnaturally sharp. Charles immediately stepped back and said, "That's not just a wall, that's a structure." For a moment, the crew thought they were about to witness the entire island's greatest mystery. The production team even stabilized the camera and locked it on that moment, as this was Oak Island's rarest discovery moment. The body language of the crew standing in front of the door was worth watching. Emma's eyes shone with fear and excitement. She stared at the door for a while, as if deciding whether it was safe to touch it. Charles looked at Rick and said, "If we open this, the story changes." Spooner remained silent for a few seconds. His breathing was heavy, and his eyes were glued to the floor readings. He himself couldn't understand what could be behind the door. Gold? Artifacts? Or something no one expected? A silence fell over the crew, as if everyone was about to cross an invisible line. The production background was unusually silent. No chatter, no movement, just pure suspense. Rick said softly, "Guys, this is not normal. We've never seen engineering like this." After that line, there was no joking or light talk. Everyone understood that Oak Island was no longer just a treasure hunt. This was about to become something big. Emma turned the scanner one last time to the bottom edge of the door, and suddenly the reading spiked, a straight red bar. She stepped back in shock and said, "Something is moving behind that surface." The crew froze. Rick immediately suggested the movement might be an air pressure shift, but Spooner shook his head and said, "No, this is a structural shift." At that moment, the entire team understood one thing. This door isn't just closed. It's part of some ancient design, and opening it would mean unraveling history's greatest mystery. Fear was evident in the crew's eyes, but excitement was even greater. Because now they were certain that this metallic door wasn't just a passage to a chamber. It was part of centuries-old engineering, deliberately sealed to ensure no one would ever open it. And now, centuries later, it stood before humans again for the first time. The government's sudden arrival on Oak Island became a huge mystery in itself. The crew was simply checking the metallic door readings when two unmarked SUVs slowly approached the site. There were no official logos or department markings on the vehicles, just dark-tinted windows and two officers immediately alighting. Their body language was clear, serious, direct, and a vibe of urgently stopping something. The crew also understood that these were not normal inspectors. They were people who are only sent on important discoveries. As soon as the officers arrived, they first instructed to create a temporary restricted perimeter around the area. The production team was also instructed to retreat, and strict limitations were imposed on camera movement. Rick appeared upset by this, but remained calm and asked the officers what the problem was. The officers simply said, "We need to verify what you're digging into." Hearing this line, the entire team froze for a minute, as it was quite obvious that the government already knew something, or that the readings had made them realize something was on their radar. The crew couldn't understand why the sudden attempts to stop the digging had begun. Emma later said that the officers repeatedly circled around the spot with the metallic door, as if their eyes were fixed on it. This suspicion deepened when they quietly pulled Dr. Spooner aside and asked him for sample details. Spooner's expression clearly indicated that he was uncomfortable. It seemed as if the government suddenly wanted control over every activity on Oak Island, big or small. But why? The second major twist came when the metal test report of the samples came out. The tiny metal particles the crew had extracted from the edges of the door were sent for a quick lab test. The report shocked everyone. The sample contained a perfect alloy of zinc and copper that couldn't be made with normal medieval tools. This alloy was slightly different: high density, low erosion rate, and an unusual metallic signature. Spooner immediately stated that it was an intentional engineered alloy, not a random natural mixture. Emma also noted that the sample's composition matched medieval Templar metallurgy. During the 12th–14th centuries in Europe, the Templar order used special zinc-copper alloys for vaults, ceremonial chests, and sealed mechanisms. One historian even stated that this alloy was only found in structures the Templars built for sacred protection. The crew's eyes widened when they saw the test data match. The percentage ratio was nearly identical, meaning this wasn't just any old vault, it was likely a Templar-engineered vault. Immediately after this discovery, the officers' behavior became more strict. They tried to see the sample results and asked how deep the chamber extended. Rick clearly stated that this was a private project and the show's rules were clear. The officers simply replied in a cold tone, "Just making sure you're not accessing something classified." This sent a mild unease through the crowd. Classified? Medieval vault? Government interest? All of these things together seemed very strange. The crew slowly began to understand that the government was perhaps afraid of something centuries old that shouldn't be opened. Or perhaps they already knew that there was a secret structure on Oak Island whose opening could cause major historical or political turmoil. The government's presence and the combination of ancient metallurgy both pointed in one direction. This vault wasn't a normal treasure chamber. It was the work of a group thousands of years old who had sworn to keep their possessions hidden from the world. The story of the Templar route and map connection is one of Oak Island's most mind-blowing discoveries. When the crew compared old maps with modern AI scans, many things were revealed that had never been noted before. An old hand-drawn map made around the 1700s had some strange markings near the shoreline. 3 straight lines and a small X, as if pointing to a deep structure. At the time, people thought it was a random sketch, but when the AI overlaid the vault's exact location, the X fell almost exactly where the metallic door is found today. The match was so perfect that even the crew was shocked. And the twists didn't end there. A forgotten sketch from archival storage, stuck in an old box for many years, turned out to be almost identical to the vault's shape. The sketch showed a rectangular chamber, a double wall structure, and a narrow passage in the middle. Dr. Spooner placed the 2 images side by side and said, "This is the same structure." Rick just nodded when he saw it, as if his decades-long intuition was finally being proven. It became clearer that the Templars, or some secret maritime group, had intentionally secured something on this island. The shoreline markings weren't exactly normal either. Emma pointed out that many old maps had marked drop-off points, places where medieval ships could easily stop in stealth mode. Oak Island's southern shore is similar: deep water, quick access, and hidden entry points. This meant the vault wasn't the result of random digging, but part of a planned maritime route. It seemed as if the Templar Knights had chosen this spot centuries ago and worked from a blueprint. Now came the strange echo sound experiment, and it was a truly heart-stopping moment. The crew stood in front of the metallic door, and Rick took a small steel rod and lightly tapped on the door. The sound that came wasn't the normal metallic thud. Instead, a clear ringing tone resonated, sharp, clean, and with perfect vibration. Spooner immediately said, "This is hollow. Something big is behind it." The metallic ring had a delay of about 1.3 seconds, meaning the sound was traveling through a deep cavity and returning. This wasn't a hallucination. It was scientific proof that there was a large, empty chamber inside. Emma then performed a second test, tapping on the side of the door to check the echo's direction. This time, the echo came from directly below, as if there was a multi-layered space behind the door. Charles stopped breathing and said, "Guys, that's a deep chamber, a big one." The crew's eyes automatically locked, as they were now convinced that beneath Oak Island lay not just a pocket or a small room, but a massive engineered vault. Rick ran the ground sensor at close range, and the readings spiked again. The vibration graph showed an unusual dip pattern, which normally occurs when there's an open void below. Spooner calmly said, "This is not natural geology. No chance." The crew remained silent for a moment as all the pieces of the puzzle fell into one direction. Old maps, secret sketch, shoreline markings, and now the echo experiment, all suggesting the vault was built by some centuries-old secret order. The echo test increased the crew's confidence and fear. A hollow chamber meant something large, heavy, and possibly dangerous could be inside. Rick simply said softly, "If this really is the main chamber, Then we're standing on the edge of history. And at that moment, everyone understood. Oak Island was no longer just a discovery. Oak Island was speaking for itself. The sudden water pressure anomaly in the money pit was a mystery in itself, shaking the entire crew. Water flow at Oak Island is always unpredictable, but this time the readings were on a different level. While the crew was drilling toward the zone with the metallic door, the depth sensors showed a sudden drop of 60%. This drop was impossible due to normal seepage or pumping. Rick immediately had the meter rechecked, and the reading was the same, a sharp drop. Spooner immediately said, "This means something big just opened below us." The crew's eyes widened, because only a huge empty space open below could explain such a sudden water drop. Emma went around the site and checked the soil moisture, but there was no unusual dryness on the ground. This meant the water hadn't leaked out. It had fallen into a large hollow chamber below. Charles quietly said, "If that chamber absorbed the water, it must be huge." The crew's adrenaline surged at that moment, because this was the very sign treasure hunters had been looking for years: a deep underground cavity. This wasn't a natural cave. Its position, its depth, and timing, everything matched the vault location perfectly, as if the internal system of a sealed space had been disturbed for the first time in centuries. A few minutes after the water pressure anomaly, the AI team ran a deeper scan again. That was the moment when the real twist came. The AI detected another cavity, faintly but clearly visible beneath the vault with the metallic door. A second chamber. This chamber was deeper than the main vault, and its outline was slightly irregular, but with engineered symmetry. Emma said in a shaking voice, "Guys, this looks like a 2-layer vault system." This was a complete shock for the crew, because 2-layer vault designs were only created by highly secretive orders, like the Templars in medieval Europe. The AI mapping showed the walls of the second chamber to be thicker and more dense. This meant that the real treasure or actual relics might be in the deeper chamber below, while the upper vault was merely a protective shell. Spooner calmly said, "The Templars always kept the main treasure below and built a decoy structure above." This theory began to fit with every discovery on Oak Island: the metallic door, the perfect geometry, the hollow echo, the water drop. Now all the pieces were forming a single puzzle. Rick overlaid the 2 chambers on the map layout, and the resulting picture changed the atmosphere of the room. The main vault was almost rectangular, but the deeper chamber appeared in a cross-shaped alignment, a signature design of medieval Templar vaults. Charles whispered, "This is the real chamber. This is where the actual storage would be." The production team zoomed in at that moment, because the fear and excitement in the crew's eyes seemed like a movie in itself. When asked for the depth of the second chamber, the AI gave an estimate, roughly 22 to 27 feet below, meaning the main vault is just the beginning. Below, there's another sealed structure that's likely been untouched for centuries. The water pressure drop was the result of the opening of that deeper chamber. It was as if a passage sealed for centuries had shifted slightly for the first time, and water had poured straight inside. Hearing this, Rick uttered a single line that became the most intense moment of the entire episode. "If this lower chamber opens, we're not just finding treasure, we're rewriting history." The crew understood that the real game had just begun. The main vault was just a door away. The real treasure, the real secret, and the real shock probably lay in the hidden Templar chamber below. And now, it wasn't far from the world. The crew safety threat situation was one of the most tense moments in Oak Island's history. As the second chamber's readings were confirmed, the soil in the drilling area suddenly began to feel unstable. Ground sensors repeatedly showed sinkhole risks, sharp dips, shifting layers, and hollow vibrations from below. This meant that if one misstep occurred, a large portion of the ground could suddenly collapse. Rick immediately ordered a stop to drilling, as it was unwise to risk the lives of any crew member. Emma also warned that collapsing pockets were becoming active below, a phenomenon that occurs when ancient sealed chambers begin to lose pressure after centuries. Spooner performed a quick assessment of the site and reported that multiple air pockets were opening below, further weakening stability. Charles softly said, "If we go too fast, the whole vault might collapse." Hearing this, the crew's body language completely changed. Excitement had now turned into responsibility. The production team also had to retreat, the entire digging perimeter was sealed with rope, and an emergency evacuation route was prepared. This was the first time the Oak Island team feared that their greatest discovery could suddenly become a disaster. Rick kept saying, "Slow down. This vault waited centuries. It can wait a few more days." Meanwhile, news of this discovery spread like wildfire across the world. News portals ran headlines like "Templar Vault Found," "Oak Island Mystery Cracked," "Ancient Structure Detected Beneath Money Pit." Social media was abuzz with theories and excitement. Christian heritage groups issued open statements that if this was indeed a Templar vault, it would be the world's rarest historical discovery. Many historians also said that the Templars had no connection to North America, but after seeing the geometry and ancient metallurgy data of the AI scans, they too were silenced. Historians, archaeologists, and conspiracy researchers were all asking the same question: is this the real Templar vault? Some experts theorized that the two-layer chamber design was solely used for sacred relic protection. This meant the vault might contain not just gold or coins, but also artifacts that had been historically erased. The worldwide reaction was so intense that Oak Island trended, and people constantly asked Rick Lagina for updates. Excitement was even greater in Christian communities. It's believed that the Templar archives are where knights moved their sacred relics to safe locations before leaving Europe. Many now believed that Oak Island might be one of those secret relocation sites. Discussions were raging across YouTube, Twitter, and Reddit. What's inside the chamber? Why did the government show up? Is history about to change? Crew safety threats and worldwide hype combined to elevate Oak Island to a stage where every moment was critical. Danger was on one side, and the world was watching. Now, Rick and the team were proceeding very carefully, because down below lay not just another vault. Perhaps the greatest mystery in history awaited them. Treasure value theory has taken this entire story to a whole new level. When experts analyzed the vault's size, metal density readings, and chamber layout, a rough estimate was arrived at. If it truly was a Templar-era vault, its potential value could range from 150 mem to 300 mem USD. But both Rick and Spooner knew that this wasn't just a monetary treasure. The real value lay in the history it might hold. Documents, relics, sealed artifacts, or perhaps something hidden from the world for centuries. Charles also said, "Gold can be counted. History cannot." And the crew's silence on this line suggested something extraordinary lay beneath. Emma also noted that the geometry and thickness of the deeper chamber proved it wasn't built solely to store wealth. It was a protection vault-like structure. The Templars would only build such vaults for sacred relics, royal documents, or forbidden knowledge. So the real question wasn't about gold. What historical truth lay sealed inside could shake the world. Experts believe that if a medieval manuscript, unknown symbol tablets, or part of a holy relic were found there, Its value would be beyond any amount of money. This was what made the Oak Island team even more vigilant, because this wasn't just a treasure hunt, it had become a global-level discovery. And then came the moment that sealed this episode in history. Rick's final emotional line. Standing near the drilling site, the night dimming, a slight chill in the air. Rick just thought deeply for a few seconds. The camera was locked on his face. Then he said softly, "This is not the end. The real vault is still below." The entire crew held their breath. This line wasn't just a statement. It was a warning, as if Rick himself felt that something so vast lay below that the world couldn't possibly imagine. Production didn't immediately cut after this line, because the crew's reactions were a story in themselves. Emma was in shock. Charles was shaking his head and staring at the ground, and Spooner seemed to freeze in place. This moment delivered the biggest cliffhanger of the entire season. If the upper vault is so intense, what lies hidden in the main Templar chamber below? Gold? Relics? Lost manuscripts? Or something the world isn't even ready for yet?